What is going on, everyone? Griffin here, coming at you with some talent gameplay. Today we're going to be talking about DMR balance in Rogue Company. So let's head over and let's talk about it. So we got the recent communication from Evil Mojo, focused on quality of life and balance, and one of the weapon classes that did not receive really any type of attention whatsoever as far as, creating a identity for weapons is DMRs. Now, they did do a small pass on DMRs with the Mamba and also the Devotion, but none of the other DMRs have effectively been touched so far. And DMRs is a very polarizing weapon type in any type of video game, right? Because it's something that is normally either burst or semi-automatic. It's supposed to have very high damage output, but it's also supposed to be something that is a little bit more skill-based than your assault rifles, SMGs, shotguns, and things like that. In Rogue Company, DMRs are very, very powerful, and especially for players that play with mouse and keyboard. And the reason why is because the aim assist in Rogue Company is absolutely atrocious. It needs to be completely reworked, in my opinion. And I know that some people agree with that, some people won't agree with that, but there's no dynamic aim assist that is dependent off of the weapons that you use. And what I would suggest, at least from my perspective, is you're going to have a weapon that's going to excel at mid to long range engagements, such as DMRs, then the aim assist strength at those mid to long ranges should be stronger than they are at closer ranges. It should be dynamic. That's how it should work. That's how, in my lizard brain, that's how aim assist should work for things like that, for DMRs like that. Just like for SMGs, the aim assist strength should be at close to close mid range, and anything after that should be almost non-existent. And then you should have assault rifles that's a good mixture of close range and mid range, and then you have DMRs that's mid range and long range, and sniper rifles shouldn't have aim assist whatsoever, in my opinion, but they do. And it's weird. So for DMRs, the way I kind of look at everything as a whole is there's a glaring issue with DMRs that could be rectified in a very easy way. Now, I understand that like DMRs have this really weird like TTK, polarizing TTK, and you have to approach this in a very, very specific kind of way in order to balance these things out. But most of the DMRs have these unrealistically crazy headshot multipliers applied to them. Almost like unbelievably high headshot multipliers for any of them, from the Bishop to the MXR to the Aaron to the Mamba to the D3DI, specifically to the Devotion. All of these weapons have unbelievably high headshot multipliers. The body shots for most of them feel pretty good. I know that there was a update that came out when Pretty Hair was still there, where they went in and basically buffed the headshot damage of all of the DMRs across the board to try to make them a little bit more relevant. Now, I don't think that the headshot damage or the damage output of the DMRs at that time was the real issue with the weapons. I think that it came down to the fact that like the way that the aim assist works in the game doesn't really make sense for people that use controller to run DMRs in Rogue Company unless they're very, very proficient at it, because they're not going to get those benefits that they would get with SMGs and assault rifles, being able to close that gap and being able to have like these really intimate close quarters engagements with one another. That's where they screwed up. The DMRs before the buffs were fine. The DMRs before the buffs were performing very, very well. The D3DI was great. The MXR was great. And the MXR has been changed quite a bit, especially whenever Dahlia was released. The D3DI has been touched a pretty decent amount. The Mamba has been tweaked a little bit. The Aaron has been buffed slightly. They buffed the hip fire on it to make the hip fire really, really good for that weapon. And then you have a couple of other guns in the DMR category that's been tweaked over time, but they should have never increased those initial headshot damages for them. They need to go in there with the DMRs and they need to adjust those headshot damage values down by about 25%, maybe a little bit more. I shouldn't be able to like two-tap someone with the D3DI across the map and headshot down them. Like, it's not a sniper rifle. I understand that it's supposed to be a high-powered DMR. It's supposed to be a high-powered rifle, but you have the Devotion is supposed to fill that gap. It's supposed to be the sniper without a scope. Why does the D3DI do what the Devotion does but do it better? Why does the MXR do what the Bishop's supposed to do but do it better? Like, this is the thing. You've got these DMRs that are stepping all over each other's toes. There's no real identity. There's no real defining features. The Bishop fires really, really, really fast. The Bishop also has some really crappy range on it, but at the end of the day, you can buy perks and upgrade the weapon to increase that range on it. It still does really, really high damage output with headshots, regardless of what range you're shooting people at. So, and that seems to be the outlying factor, is the fact that you can do these crazy amounts of headshot damage output with these weapons, regardless of range, when in reality, it should not be that way. It should be a little bit more in line with what the body shot damage for something like that is, because it is a high caliber round that you are firing at people. I think that they need to go in there, and I think that they need to tweak these down just a little bit. I think that the hip fire for the majority of them needs to be loosened up pretty significantly. I shouldn't be able to get into an engagement with or against D3DI and it be more accurate than all of the SMGs in the game, all of the assault rifles in the game, and all this stuff. So I think that they need to tweak the aim assist, especially for the DMR specifically, and have a dynamic aim assist that is associated with those weapons only. I think that they need to reduce the headshot damage of all of the DMRs across the board. And I think that they need to loosen up the hip fire accuracy just a little bit to make them less reliable in close quarters engagements. And I think that if they did those three things to the weapons, I think that the weapons would be pretty well balanced. I think that they may have to go in there and make a couple of fire rate tweaks here and there, maybe a couple of body shot and headshot damage value changes, because the Bishop and the MXR feel like the same weapon. The D3DI and the Devotion feels like the same weapon. You know what I mean? The only thing that feels different is the Mamba, because it's a burst. You have all these weapons that feel like the other versions of them. And it's like, well, of course I'm going to run the D3DI. I can two-tap down someone with headshots across the map. It has better hip fire. And it also shoots slightly faster than the Devotion. And it's not as loud as the Devotion. You can get a suppressor for it. So, of course, why would I not run the D3DI over the Devotion? So that makes the Devotion obsolete. Of course, the MXR fires just as fast, most of the time than the Bishop. Why would I run the Bishop? I can just run the MXR. But be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on DMRs overall? What do you think would be most beneficial to balance the DMRs? And do you think that the aim assist needs to be tweaked where it's very dynamic, dependent on what weapon that you pick up, as opposed to this weird default value aim assist thing that they have in the game? Be sure to let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, be sure to check that description for links to Facebook, Discord, and Twitter. Those are the places to contact me. If you haven't already, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, then consider hitting that join button to become one of the 256 crew members. Lastly, on Thursdays at 11 p.m. Central Time, Sundays around 10 a.m. Central Time, I will be streaming here on YouTube. So if you are interested and available, please feel free to stop by and say hello there. Thanks for watching, guys.